Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Shred's Takes. I'm Mike Shredder, your host for the podcast. I'm joined by Sabrina Oostburg. She's a sophomore thrower at Belmont. Again, Division One athlete, huge in the NIL, has over 20 deals, and again, only a sophomore, so she's got a lot more to go in that sphere. But Sabrina, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Hey guys, so happy to be here right now.
Absolutely. So let's get started just kind of with the first question, and then we'll get into NIL a little bit later. Again, track, right? Talking about where that passion developed from and how it ultimately led you to Belmont.
Yeah, so it's a really fascinating story. I'm originally from San Diego, California. My mom used to be a marathon runner. So the first sport I ever did was running. I would run just long distance, go on a little jog with my mom. And so when I was in high school, my freshman year of high school, I specialized in the 1 mile. At my high school in California, I had 300 kids on my track team. 300. That's quite a lot. So everyone only did one event, and you probably had 7 to 10 athletes per event. So it was not like you had a lot of wiggle room to move around and try different events. And so I was purely just a 1 mile. The next year was COVID. COVID happened, and then that cut my season short. And then in 2020, my mom saw a YouTube video titled Top 10 Reasons Why I Moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee. She liked all 10 reasons so much, we sold our house within a week, drove across the US, and now my family currently lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So my sports journey ended kind of quickly, but then as I moved to Tennessee, I was like, all right, I want to meet some more people. I want to meet people at my school. I'm halfway through my junior year at this point. It's spring. And so I'm like, what better way to just meet people than by spring track? I joined a track team. Before I left California, I started doing CrossFit and Olympic weightlifting. Was really involved in it. I saw a documentary about the CrossFit Games. I'm like, this is really cool. This is something I could do as well. So I started doing it. At that point, I had not run for an entire year. I go up to my coach. I tell him, hey, I'm going to be your best 1 miler you ever had. And he starts laughing. Like, what's so funny? He told me, you'd be a really good thrower. Throwing? What the heck is throwing? I didn't know what he was talking about. And I was like, no, you don't understand. All I know how to do is run, even though I haven't been running. I was like, you know what? Just go on a run with the cross country team, see how you like it. So I laughed and I was like, okay, cool. I went on this run. By the end of this 3 mile run, I officially retired from long distance running. I forgot how hard running was. And I was like, yeah, never mind. Coach is right. He won. The next day I started throwing. 2 to 3 months later, I go to state and I place top 6 in the state for shot put. Just picked up the sport. And so I just kind of got thrown into it, but I really liked it. And so it's just something that my coach suggested that I do. And with that, I did all these different events. I went from a high school that had 300 athletes in California to now my new school in Chattanooga, Tennessee that had 30 athletes. So a big difference there. I actually became a multi, so I did the pentathlon, the 800 meter, the high jump, long jump, shot put, 100 meter, not 100-meter hurdles, but the hurdles too. So I did all that. And I was originally recruited right after I went to state and I placed 6th by Austin Peay State University. They're a Division I school in Clarksville, Tennessee, just an hour up from Nashville. I said, cool, because originally I was going to go to Tennessee Tech, which is also in Tennessee, and it's in Cookeville, Tennessee. And if you've ever been there or know anything about it, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's this CrossFit gym called CrossFit Mayhem 5 minutes away from campus. It's the world's largest CrossFit gym. And as I previously mentioned, I was really into CrossFit. So I thought that is where I'm going to go for the best of the best train. But then I realized CrossFit wouldn't pay for my college. So that's why I decided first year my coach ended up quitting and they weren't going to get a new coach. So then I said, cool, let me find a new school. And this was late May. So I didn't know at the time. I only had 2 weeks in the transfer portal because then for certain sports, you only have like a certain time frame to transfer. So I said, ooh, okay. I applied to Duke, Kennesaw, Tennessee. I have a friend, she's a softball player at Belmont, and she suggested I look into it. I'm like, okay. I had another teammate that when I went to Austin Peay, she transferred to Belmont. So I knew a couple of people that went there. I went on a tour there. I really like the school. Currently a sports administration major, and I want to work in sports. And you look at Nashville, they have this huge sports scene. where they have the Nashville Predators, Tennessee Titans, Nashville Sounds, all these different sports things, and that doesn't even touch the entertainment side of it, where we have the music and the performing arts. And so I just thought it seemed like a great place to be, and this is where I am today.
So the transition for you, it goes from Division One Austin P to Belmont. Was that a difficult transition for you from a track standpoint and even maybe just looking from a career standpoint and a college life standpoint? How was the transition for you going from one Division One school to another?
I would say it was a good difference. Opportunities. My major there was communications, and then I minored in sports, so they didn't even have my major. And looking career wise, there was nothing that was keeping me back in Clarksville, Tennessee. So moving to Belmont, all of a sudden I have all these opportunities that are opening up to me. Within the first month of college, I went to this job fair. They had all these different just outlets in Tennessee where you had someone from every sports department, I got to meet someone from the Tennessee Titans, someone from Nashville Sounds, all these different sports departments, and they're hiring interns. And so I actually got my first internship within my first month of college at Belmont. So I worked at this one company called Athlete Licensing Company, where I got to learn more about NIL for athletes, about the IP rights, and learn more about the legal side of it. So that was really cool for me. But that was an opportunity I would not have had if I didn't go to Belmont. So the networking in Belmont was just something that I was definitely lacking at the other school. But transition wise, I would say it was definitely better because everything was something that I was missing at my other school.
So opportunities that flows really well into your NIL opportunities, and just talk about just kind of where the development of that came from, and more importantly, how you were able to grow your portfolio with NIL over the past year and a half.
Yeah. Starting NIL, I didn't really know what it was in the beginning when it came out in 2021, but I was already making content and all that before I went to college. When I was still doing CrossFit in high school as a junior in high school, I started a fitness account. And at the time, 2, 3 years ago on Instagram, everyone's handles had underscore fit at the end of their username. So I made mine Sabrina10 underscore fit because I was gonna make a little fitness account. I did all your typical gym rat content. I would post what I eat in a day, film my workouts, all this gym motivation things that people would make fun of. That's all the stuff I did, and I was really passionate about it. And so I already had a head start among my peers of making content because I wanted to film my fitness journey and inspire other people to work out. So that's how I started. Going into college, I realized very quickly that I wasn't even able to bring my phone into the weight room. So I wasn't able to film my gym content as I previously had. So I had this huge pivotal moment where I realized if I can't film what a majority of what my content's about, I need to figure out a way to keep posting, or I'm gonna have to like stop posting on my account entirely. So I said, okay, what other kind of content can I post around? That's when I started posting more about relatable content, humor, things I do outside of my sport. These are things that people are figuring out right now that, okay, I can't just post about my sport. I was figuring that out within my first week of college. And so I had this moment where I'm like, okay, I really learned how to diversify myself beyond just my sport. I like track. I still love track, but it wasn't what my content was mainly around. And so it was cool to change it up and do all these different things. When it comes to NIL, that was really cool because my school started to really expand upon that. I knew a couple people who started going into NIL, but then at the time I was like, it's just something that there wasn't a lot of information about. I would Google it, on modern Google. I went on TikTok. TikTok it, okay, how to get an NIL deal. And there wasn't a lot of information in 2021 about what to do. And so from that, I just got on Open Doors because that was the only type of information I was given. What can I do differently that someone's not already doing? So I just started DMing people on Instagram, all these companies, this cold reach, and I make this list on my phone where I wrote down all my dream companies, and I reached out to them like, "Hey, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'd love to work with you." And if they responded, great. If they do, great. And so what happened was lots of the time, all these companies just would not answer me. And so I get lots of these just unopened messages, and I'll follow up with them, keep bothering them until they have a response. But what happened for me is that I reached out to my favorite company, First Forum. They're a supplement company, very well known in the CrossFit space. I said, hey, like, I'd love to work with you guys. They're very open with it right away. And so I got in touch with their main sponsorship person. Then I got a deal with First Forum for 5 months, and that was really awesome. So I was really happy to do that because like that was my first major deal. And then I just kept getting deals like that. I would just reach out to people. I got onto LinkedIn, meeting all the CEOs and the founders of these companies on there, and really just negotiating all these deals on my own.
So in terms of content creation for you, right? That's something that you've been doing before you even walked into college. And that's something that I've heard from other people in the NIL space that's very important because it gets you to understand who your audience is and gets you to also promote your personal brand. Two questions with that. First, what do you think makes good content? And second, what would you say your personal brand is that you're trying to articulate through your content?
Great question. First of all, I continually tell this to people. What makes a great personal brand is authenticity. Lots of people will think they have to be something or whatever their audience wants, but in the end, we have a very evolved audience where we have this generation where people grew up being on social media or just consuming media, that we have very educated viewers that they know what's fake and what's real. So there's no more fake it till you make it. It's who's the most authentic and who wants to follow your journey. So you have to be willing to put yourself out there and be vulnerable with your story and accept whether or not people want to follow you for who you are or not like you at all. So that's like the main thing I would say. And with that, I think the rest of it flows for the first one. The second one, adding on to the idea of authenticity for my personal brand, I tell people that my ideal audience, I think about when I make my content, I make it for me. So I'm the influencer I wish I had when I was younger. So I make it for the younger female athletes to give them someone to look up to. Lots of my content's about strong women. And for me growing up, I did not have a lot of role models where I saw women with muscles. Growing up, as I started keep going to the gym, I had lots of people telling me like, girls with muscles, that's gross. Like girls aren't supposed to work out like that. And there was a specific idea of what working out for women looks like versus guys. And there's like different workouts and all this. It's like, no, you could do the same workout. There's no two different workouts, it doesn't have to be all that different. And so really changing the stereotype on that it's okay for women to be strong. Women can be strong. Just sharing that through my content.
So, with all this, there had to be someone that was a mentor for you in this process, or even just growing up. You can talk about it from both sense. Who was your mentor, maybe from an athletic standpoint in terms of track? And then who's been a mentor in terms of your NIL success and being able to grow your brand there?
I would say I've had multiple mentors. Lots of my mentors came from CrossFit, actually. I had about 5 coaches for CrossFit. I lived in the gym. That was my second home. I would give it my mentor. I would call him, his name's Jordan. Jordan Core. He's my CrossFit coach. I also did Olympic weightlifting, and so he would come with me to all my weightlifting meets. He would coach me for CrossFit, write all my workouts. But whenever I needed advice, he was definitely what I called him my gym father. And so he was definitely a huge part of that. And so whenever I come back from college, I always go visit my gym. So even if I have something that's beyond CrossFit or beyond track, like I could always go to them like, hey, this is what's happening. I need your advice here. And so it's cool to have those mentors that just go beyond your sport that you could continue talking to them after that. But he was a mentor for me even while I was in high school doing track. I would go to track practice and I'll go to the gym right after. And so I would say my CrossFit mentor was more a bigger influence for me in that. But I did have like track coaches as well, but it wasn't as big as CrossFit in my life. The second part of that in NIL, I would say lots of it was self-taught. I didn't really have a mentor, as I mentioned. I couldn't find anyone online who would teach me how to do NIL. So lots of it was just self-teaching and just picking apart from what I saw best worked.
What is your goal with NIL? Is it to inspire the future generation of female athletes? What exactly are you trying to get out of it besides building your personal brand and engaging with obviously this? What is your goal with NIL?
My goal for NIL is to teach other people that social media is more than just being an influencer. Social media, you could use it as a tool to do different things with it. Right now, I'm currently working on creating a camp for track and field athletes in Tennessee for middle schoolers and elementary schoolers. So I'm using my platform to help raise money for camps and using social media again as a tool to raise money for different fundraisers. And so really learning how to use your NIL presence to make a bigger impact than just making money. Because yes, it's important. Like for me, I do a sport where I don't have a huge scholarship, or there's not as much scholarship money in it, where you could get a full ride. And so getting that money through NIL to help pay for my college is a big deal. And that is definitely a big pro for NIL. But along with that, just making an impact on those around me.
So I guess the final question I have is, what does the future look like for you?
The future will be interesting. I am currently working on creating a TED Talk based around NIL. And with that, I'm going to wrap it around the idea of authenticity. That will definitely be in the works. So I have lots more public speaking gigs in the future. You'll hear a lot more from me, but that's currently a little sneak peek of what's to come.
Awesome. Well, Sabrina, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking about your NIL athletic and just career aspirations, your story. Obviously, this is what I think the great part about sports is about, is kind of hearing these journeys, because it really gets you to understand the athletes. But I just, again, thank you so much for coming on, and I obviously wish you the best of luck with all your success, and I hope you continue to thrive in this space and be able to inspire the future generation.
Thank you so much.